Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of the Lower Your Shoulder podcast. My name is Ben McKelvey and I'm joined here with...
Jake Robbins.
Welcome everyone. Jake and I have worked together in the creative field for a long time and we've done lots of different things, but we've never done a podcast, have we, mate?
I've actually done other podcasts, but I've not done one with you, have I?
We're a bit of like jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
I feel, aren't we?
We are. And we're going to use this just to talk about anything we're working on, anything, any ideas that we've got building in the background, and sort of tell more stories about projects that we've got going on, anything like that. We're just going to basically shoot the shit for as long as we can, and hopefully some people will listen.
Do you know what? I didn't realize, or I kind of forget how much stuff we do in the background. I know we try and, put it out there as we go, on Instagram stories and all that kind of stuff, whenever we're in the studio together, whenever we're filming stuff, and we try and do behind the scenes. But because it's only me and you, it's quite hard to constantly document what we're doing. So I feel like this is a really great way that we can sit down, tell everyone what it is, kind of whether we do this weekly, every other week, monthly, however this turns out, at least we can actually talk about what we're doing in a bit more depth.
Totally. So let's talk about where the name came from, Lower Your Shoulder. People ask me that all the time, and I didn't come up with it. So why don't you explain where that came from?
Should we go all the way back to
Let's
the
go all
beginning?
the way back.
We'll go all the way back to the beginning. A brief history of Lower Your Shoulder. So back in 2013, I think it is. So it's been...
You think? It's all on our clothing and everything.
Yeah, it is 2013, yeah.
We're not lying.
And I was just going to say 10 years, but it's actually been 11.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, back in 2013, I had been doing music for a good few years. I was in a punk band before as a drummer, and then I veered off to do my own solo thing, and I was playing open mic nights and, gigging up and down the country and doing all the usual DIY independent stuff. Sleeping on floors and just trying to, flog CDs in empty bars, that kind of stuff. What dreams are made of, mate.
Of course.
What dreams are made of. And at the time, I was a one-to-one personal trainer. I'm still a coach, but mainly online now. Well, all online now. I got up one morning in my flat, and I remember I had an early morning client, but I got up really early, about 4:30, 5 in the morning, to get some cardio in before my first PT session. And I went on Instagram, and Instagram was fairly big, but nothing like it was now. And I didn't really know how to use it. And I think at that time I was literally just following The Rock, because I was like, oh, he's into training. Like, this is cool. Maybe I'll get some ideas. That was literally it. And I mean, obviously everything's like exploded now, but I saw, it was from a quote that he put, and it was a picture of him, kind of like a silhouette with the sun going down. I've still got the screenshot somewhere. If you go on The Rock's Instagram, back like 10 years, you'll be able to find it. And the quote was along the lines of, when you feel the weight of the world pushing against you, dig in deep, lower your shoulder and push back. And I just thought, lower your shoulder. That's such a cool phrase, because it's kind of like it sounds a bit like a boxing thing.
Yeah.
And literally at that moment, I was just like, do you know what? I've been in this game for quite a long time doing music. No one's going to fucking sign me. Are they? They're not going to sign me. Who am I? So do you know what? I'll sign myself. So I made my own label called Lower Your Shoulder Music, and then just started sending emails from this email address. It was like info@LYSmusic, which we've still got today.
Yeah.
And basically from that, I booked a bunch of bigger shows, and then I got my first kind of PR deal, blagged a bit of management, kind of consultancy work sort of thing. Then went over to the States, and literally I'd approached all these venues over there and they all ignored me. Then I did it from a record label address, and they all went, yeah, sure, come over. And we did some gigs in New York, and gradually it just built up, and I was almost like, what can I get away with? And it was 3 years later, blagged myself onto an arena tour.
Well, it probably got quite fun hiding behind a name, right? Like, it wasn't your name on it. It was a name which you were able to hide behind and not have any fear, but with sending any email to anyone.
Oh, no.
That you just like...
Also, it was great because I had all these pretend people in the business. So I made a bunch of other
all named Ben.
No, yeah, can you imagine? No, but I got this trick from my dad. My dad had a security company and, did really well. And when they first started, they had 2 engineers or whatever. And it was like them in working this tiny office above a garage in Slough. And when people then would phone in, they'd be like, oh, I think so-and-so's on that site, let me call him. And it'd just be all the same people. They even had a whiteboard in the office with their kids' names as the engineers so they could remember who was who. And so I thought that was such a cool thing. And it's, a few people have done that when they first start, because you got to make yourself bigger, right? You want to make yourself,
Yeah, perception is everything.
Yeah, of course. So I had these fictional people. So I had Frank who worked, he did the orders. But it was great, man. And I think that's why I just still love the name and everything that it stood for, because it's been a lot of fun.
After doing so much music together, it's going to be a home for the music that we do together, different projects, whether it's me producing your solo stuff or it's something together or any other extension of anything we do, solo stuff for me. Yeah, so it finally feels like...
Yeah, I think we kept trying to put it in a box, which is ironic because you and I have never wanted to be put in a box like that, because we just like to do what we do. And I think, before, obviously it started as a label, quote unquote, it's just me, obviously, but it was just a way for me to distribute my music, to sell merchandise and all that kind of stuff, and just give myself a bit of a base, I guess, just like a name behind my own name, kind of looked like I had someone rooting for me almost. And then, obviously, as we started working more together, we liked the idea of incorporating some clothing. And I think this is a good point. We should mention the Goshawk.
Yeah.
So that was all you, man.
Was it?
Wait, hang on. Was it?
You came up with the idea.
I came up with the idea, but it's your design ultimately, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. Did you find a picture on Google or something?
So
of the Goshawk?
The idea of the Goshawk was originally it was because I wanted a logo for my solo stuff, because I thought merch is great. You can sell t-shirts with your name on it, but if I wear it on stage, and this, proved myself right here, I was like, if I can wear a logo on stage, on tour, in the studio, that kind of stuff, more people will buy it, and which happened. You can't really walk around with, you can't be Ben McKelvey wearing a Ben McKelvey t-shirt. That would look insane. So, so that was the original idea, and the first time we used it was on the cover, the front cover for the Wild Child album.
Yeah.
And then I got some merch done, and it looked really, really good. We got they were the varsity jackets, the first beanies, some hoodies and stuff. And I remember sending you a picture, and you were like, oh man, that looks like the coolest clothing line. And then we were kind of like, maybe we should do some actual clothes and branch out into that a bit more. But yeah, anyway, the story behind the Goshawk is it's an English bird of prey, and it was kind of like, well, it's got a good, it's like English, which is cool because we're English. And then the hawk was lifted, I guess, influenced from Atticus clothing that we both grew up loving, being massive Blink fans. And then the original logo that had a circle around it was actually from a Mark Wahlberg product, because I was following him on Instagram for his fitness stuff, and he had a logo at some point with that, and it was kind of a big mashup. And I just sort of threw all those ideas at you and was like, Jake, can you make me something like that?
It's funny because it's the most simple thing possible. And it's quite challenging to use outside of that original design. And we did end up landing on another design, which has kind of become our staple. But I think the falling into the clothes thing, I think generally we were always looking for different ways to work together creatively, whether that was just and it was just here's a fun idea. Should we do it together? Yes. Doing it together is better than doing it on your own, kind of thing. So that was that idea with the clothing. It was never we're going to make this massive clothing line. It was just that would be cool to own and have, call it our own and be able to have that logo on some close. That was kind of the extent of that idea.
Well, I think also you started to join me on stage more. So you started coming, we were working in the studio together, and then that was great we obviously working each other that way, but obviously it was kind of my thing that you were producing. And then, as you said, we sort of thought, oh, it'd be cool to do something together that's ours, that we can both, get the same input and output kind of thing. And then,
well, I think also, because at that time you were asking me to do quite a lot of different things at that point, be it like help you direct music videos, or doing little graphic designs, helping you with posters, artwork, and I think it just was like, okay, we're working together a lot here. Like, should we put a name to it as well? It's like, how can we do more of what we're already doing, but actually put it under a home? And we would just do everything and anything creative with each other. That was just because I guess we had the same outlook on being independent in terms of making stuff, and we just, rightly or wrongly, just liked having full control over what we were doing.
Well, it's fun.
Isn't it? And it was always fun.
And that's why, and as you started to join me on bigger tours, it made more sense, because I can only do so much promoting on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was kind of like, oh, actually, you're playing bass for me on this solo tour, but we've got a clothing line together that we can promote. And that kind of started to make more sense.
Yeah.
And then, obviously then lockdown came in, which was, obviously all live events and all that kind of stuff. Rather, you and I couldn't even record together.
Yeah.
We did kind of, from memory, did we do some like online sessions together? I can't remember even if we did that.
I can't really remember.
Because I think the Joyride EP came out in lockdown, but we must have recorded that.
Yeah, we
did it before, right?
We had a lot of sessions which were just unfinished. So at least we had the ability to like work on those and finish them. And it was probably not how we would have normally worked on those songs, but we were able to still be creative. No, that's right, because I remember Johnny and June now was all the production for that was done during lockdown, because I remember being at my flat, like in my little room with my setup, and just getting lost. And it was a very hot, the first lockdown was really hot.
Yeah.
And I just remember like, closing my eyes and kind of getting really lost in doing the production of that. And, I really love how that came out. So like there was some real positives in terms of, I would just, for a lot of hours of lockdown, just have headphones on. I mean, that's not that different from now, but I think in particular, I was just like, this doesn't have to be done by tomorrow. So I'm just going to luxuriate in strings and piano bits and like, all that kind of fun stuff.
What was kind of, lockdown was obviously, incredibly difficult for everyone. And within music, obviously all the live events stopped and took a long time to get all that back rolling. But what we did is we started getting into some fitness stuff, which I think was really good, because you obviously, for our mental health side of stuff, you and I were kind of like, well, what are we going to do to fill our time here? Because I can't record, I can't play gigs. I was like, everything I've worked for the last, 10 years, I'm now doing nothing.
Yeah.
So it was great that then we were kind of like, oh, you know what? Maybe we'll put some home workouts together and put them up for like fans that are following or people that are interested in our clothing and stuff. And then we started getting into that side of stuff.
It started veering off into something else, funnily enough.
But I think we just, what I love about the brand is that we just, whatever gets thrown at us, we adapt to.
Yeah.
So now we're in this great position where, because we've tried all these different things, now we've got a bit of everything, but it's really going, because the label side of stuff and being, doing music together, we've got 3 projects that we're going to be, we're going to have 4 artists on the roster now, rather than just me.
Yeah.
So, you did a lot of solo work in lockdown as well. So we've got that coming out.
By the name of Vincent George.
Vincent George. Make sure you check out on Spotify. So yeah, it feels like, oh, this is actually like, the label side of things is now really gonna come out this year. And then plus the clothing, we've tried so many different samples and stuff and different distribution companies and all that kind of stuff that we're like, right, we're going to use these guys. These are really good for this, for tour merch. This is the best hoodie that we like. And, we've really put in the time to make sure that all the different parts of the company are the best that they can be.
Mm-hmm.
And, with the fitness side of stuff, my online fitness business now is like, it's doing great. And we've got that side of stuff. And we're like, oh, maybe we can bring in some clothing with that. And it all just feels like only 11 years later, feels like it's really become something that we always wanted it to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. And I think the thing with us is like we've always got ideas, and sometimes we outgrow our ideas too quickly, and we haven't actually finished doing the initial idea. And I think that's been a good and a bad thing. It's meant that we picked up a lot of skills along the way, and we can do a lot of things. Like we've done a lot of music videos together now. We know what we can pull off and what we can't. So that's a good thing, because like when we're coming up for ideas now, we sort of know the parameters we can work within. The fitness stuff, like, we actually made a whole course during the second lockdown when you were kind of allowed to be in a closed environment with one other person.
Saw each other a lot.
Yeah, we did. And
the only person.
Which was by the name of Stay Young, which you can actually still find on udemy.com if you search intermittent fasting for dads under the name Stay Young. So if you want to buy it, it's $9.99. It's still there.
And I'm really proud of that course, man.
We spent a long time on that.
We worked really hard, and you know what? It was just a great creative thing to do, and it helped some people, especially in lockdown and immediately after lockdown, where, everyone felt pretty lost. People either got in really good shape or fell out of shape, depending on, which is completely understandable. So I think the fitness thing was always there. And yeah, we're just going to keep being creative and doing what we love doing, aren't we?
Trying not to put too many, because whenever we try and fit things in a box is when ultimately our little brains get confused. But yeah, I think actually doing that course, we learned a lot of skills like how to film videos, how to do audio, proper audio to video. Obviously, I'm a producer as well, so that helped with that. How to script videos, how to put a course together, how to do a website. Like, it taught us a lot. And also probably for you, it reinforced all your beliefs about what you're coaching now. I mean, it's all the same stuff. Like, your stuff's a lot more refined now with how you deliver the message. But like, all that stuff was like, you really thought it all out, and we wrote it together, and it just shows that, like, maybe in the past I've begrudged a little bit, like, some of the effort or time we've spent on things, and then it hasn't properly gone somewhere. But in the end, it always comes back round to being useful, and you never lose those skills, do you, ever?
No, exactly. It's like all roads lead to here, isn't it? You know, we're in this position now where, we're putting out a lot of music together this year through different projects. We've got some killer clothing stuff coming out. We've on the clothing thing. Do you remember what happened as well when, and this is, an example of our kind of resilience. We did this amazing launch with the clothing, and like, we smashed it. I mean, we had this app, and I remember on my phone, it was dinging, and every ding was a sale. And I remember having dinner, and it was just going ding, 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 ding. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be like our main income. And we had this amazing launch, and then the factory shut down because of COVID. Yeah. And it was like, what more can you keep throwing at us? Like, every time we like just about get right. And also, we made the Stay Young course, and it was like, right, everyone's back out. We're like, great, this is going to do well. And people started buying it, and then they shut all the gyms. And we were like, we haven't got a section in there that says if the gym's shut, have we? And we're like, no. So I do feel very proud of how we've kept going
Yeah.
considering what's been thrown at us over the years,
I think that's ultimately what Lower Your Shoulders is about. It's like, don't give up, dig in. Like, even when life's telling you not to do something, if you really want to do it, find the time, make sacrifices in certain ways. Obviously, don't alienate yourself from absolutely everyone. You still got to have a way of balancing. But, sometimes when we're doing stuff together, I'm like, oh my God, how am I it is hard to juggle, but it's still always worth it. It's always worth it to find that couple of hours together, the evenings, the early starts for fitness. Like, it's only by being resilient, like you say, and just sticking to our guns. And I think, luckily enough for us, if we're not doing it, we don't feel like ourselves. So that's what keeps us doing it.
I've really enjoyed seeing like what a kind of gang mentality this has started bringing to like live shows.
Yeah.
And without kind of realizing it, it's like this little community's formed. And it's just so cool whenever we go and play a show and you see people walking in with like, the Hammer series, like
it's awesome.
sweatshirts and t-shirts and stuff to like the gig. And then people tag us like in the gym training and like, there's people doing, somebody doing, I got my PR on a deadlift today and they're in like a Lower Your Shoulders shirt. You're like, man, that shit's cool. It's like, I'm just like, wow, that really makes my day. It's awesome.
That's kind of all we're looking for. Like, we want to do stuff we think's cool. And if in turn a small community join us and think it's cool, then that is enough for us to keep going. Because really, every time you see that, it is kind of like, oh, how awesome, like how cool. And especially if it's helping people, like, art and fitness, both those things. I think maybe why we gravitate towards them so much is like they're both therapy in different ways. Like they both help. If you've got a creative outlet, it always helps how you feel. If you're always sticking at it in the gym, and you might, everyone loses motivation, but I've noticed whenever I fall off, doing those things, as soon as I get back to doing it, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so much better. Like,
I think, that's
what it is for me anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. Like, I didn't get into training because I wanted to, look good on a beach. I got into it because I went boxing when I was having just a really tough time, kind of like late teens, and not tough time, but like, I didn't really know where I was. And I think I'd gone through something or whatever. And then I just remember going down to the gym and hitting the bag and being like, this didn't solve my problems, but I feel a lot better because I've smacked this bag. And then I was like, oh, maybe next time I'll have a look at like the dumbbell section. And then it just sort of grew and grew. And then I was like, oh, actually, if I become a personal trainer, I can work when I want to, which means I can also do music. I can help people feel better. Like, I got better by training.
Yeah.
But it was never about really that serious. It was like, to hit, certain numbers and all that kind of stuff. It was more about like the feeling you get.
Yeah, totally.
And that's why, music and fitness don't often go together, but I think they just do for us because as you said, it's like the therapy it's like the emotional and the physical therapy, isn't it? Like,
totally.
So, and like music is so influential on fitness. That's why, like, you always see athletes arrive with like their headphones on because it's like get in the zone and those, we can write a song that, I mean, I've even seen like been tagged in a few things on Instagram, like that Stronger has been used, fitness classes, and a couple of like amateur boxers have walked out to the ring, and you're just like,
it's just unbelievable.
Shit, I didn't like think that would happen. I was just having a shit day, and I was like, I'm going to write a song about not having a shit day tomorrow. So no, I'm really proud of the journey of Lower Your Shoulder, the history, and very excited to see how it's going to grow now. With all this music we've got coming out, great clothing that we proudly wear and other people are starting to really get into now, and fitness as well, to wherever that's going to lead us. It's exciting.
So going forward for the next few episodes with Lower Your Shoulder podcast, we will discuss all sorts of things. We'll be doing interviews about, upcoming projects, maybe some fitness goals that we've achieved, how to, be more motivated, all sorts of things. We don't really have, a proper plan for where this can go, but what this will be is like an extension of where we are. And if anyone wants to learn more about what we do, please visit lowershoulder.com. Check out our socials. Ben, yours is?
Ben McKelvey, McKelvey.
And mine is Jake Robbins Producer, which is still a bit long and I'd like to shorten somehow. Any ideas, let me know. I've also got my Vincent George one at Vincent George. And we've got at Lower Your Shoulder as well. So, yeah, this is the first of many. Who knows how they're going to go?
We're so much better when we wing it, so we won't be planning much. But thank you very much for listening and joining us, and we will speak to you all, or won't speak to you soon, but we're... I'm going to do that sign-off again. It's the first podcast. I nearly nailed it. It was so close. Damn.
Go for it.
By the 20th episode, I would have nailed this. Thank you very much for listening to the Lower Your Shoulder podcast. We'll be back very soon. Take care.